What is good, everybody? It is so good to be back with some Madden rebuild content here. The last 2-3 months has been absolutely insane with draft prep and then getting draft content out there and then, of course, updating this roster to be what it is. And we are now here ready to rebuild the Denver Broncos, the much anticipated series here. I am more excited for this series than I have been of previous ones. Not that I was not excited in the past, but now we have this roster overhaul. We have a jump nerf to improve gameplay. We have quarterback ratings overhauls as well that we've talked about in my other videos about my roster. So if you are new to this channel here, make sure you head over to see what the roster is all about. I won't get into detail on that in this video. But then we also have the rookies here, of course. So this is a realistic rebuild. We're going to make realistic moves. Basically pretend we are in the GM chair, that we are John Elway, Vic Fangio, the head coach here, and try to kind of replicate what we might see here from the Denver Broncos in the next 4 or 5 years, which is going to be the window that we're going to work on here for this series. And then as far as gameplay is related, and I'm going to just kind of scroll through these sliders as I talk here because so many people are going to wonder about them, so I'm going to get that out of the way. But as far as gameplay goes here, we are going to do each season pretty much sticking with the plan from our previous rebuild. So we're going to do every divisional game. We're going to do play the moments, where we do 3 play the moments in each game with a maximum of 1 full drive. We are also going to do a game of offense only, a game of defense only, and then a game with just the 4th quarter. If we ever go to overtime, it is free reign to play that. And then if we get to the playoffs, we will actually kick it up this time around to 5 play the moments with 2 full drives. So that is new this year. So the last thing before we get this all started, please do like this video. Hit the like button of each installment in this series. If you want to support the channel, if you want to help share these videos, and also just let me know if you're enjoying the content, that is how to do it. And I really do appreciate you guys hitting that like button. So let's get started here. We've got Vic Fangio, one of the, if not the best defensive minds in the NFL, maybe outside of Bill Belichick. He was back with the 49ers when this team was really roaring with Colin Kaepernick and that front 7 that was just nasty. The Bears end up signing him, and he turns the Bears into one of the most feared defenses in the NFL. So really his last 2 gigs, he has converted his defense into arguably the most feared defense in the league. So we're hoping to replicate that here with this Denver Broncos team, and we actually kind of have the pieces to do that. We've got Von Miller, who's still one of the top 5 defensive players in the league. We've got Chris Harris, who's still one of the best corners in the league. And then we've also got some really exciting pieces to build around that as well. Derek Wolfe, a vetted player here. He's kind of a B-level star. Bradley Chubb, one of the top young pass rushers in the game in his 2nd year. We've got some good free agent signings here. Kareem Jackson and Bryce Callahan, who is going to be following Vic Fangio over here to Denver. So it's an interesting rebuild. And I said I was more excited about this than my other ones because this is a team that actually has expectations to win right now. They've hired an older coach. You're trying to get milk what you can out of this window here with Von Miller and Chris Harris. So that is what we intend to do, is try and win right now. But then you look on the offensive side of the ball, and this team kind of has more optimism, I think, than you would have had here in Denver for the last few years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So obviously the big storyline, at least initially, was them going and trading for Joe Flacco. And that was a low risk, I guess high reward, more of just a steady move to get a steady quarterback in there. Now, Baltimore's going to take on his guaranteed money, so we really don't have any ties to Joe Flacco, especially after this team acquired Drew Lock in the 2nd round. So that is obviously going to be, in our first season, what we're figuring out here is who's going to start right away. We'll have a preseason battle between these guys, but it goes beyond the quarterback room as well, because this offensive line, while we did lose our star center, Matt Paradise, we did get Dalton Reisner, a good young player in the draft. At right guard for us, we signed Jawan James over from Miami. hoping he can be a steady right tackle there. Garrett Bowles coming off a good season. Ronald Leary. So we're going to have to figure out what's going on here at center, but the offensive line looking better than it frankly has over the last few years. Noah Fant was a first-round pick here, an exciting young tight end. We know Joe Flacco loves his tight ends, but he's going to give a quick-hitting option for Drew Lock as well if and when he ends up starting. So we're excited to develop Noah Fant. And then the wide receiver room is pretty interesting as well. We've got Emmanuel Sanders here who is going to have some injury concerns for us, but he can kind of be that low-end number one, obviously on the back end of his career here, but he can kind of sit here, be that number one option while these two young receivers, Deshaun Hamilton and Courtland Sutton, develop for us. And Sutton was my number one wide receiver in last year's class, so we're really excited to pair him now with a really good tight end, with a better offensive line, and with a good young quarterback, hopefully. And then you got some good running backs here as well. Philip Lindsay, I don't know if he's going to be the guy for good, but he's obviously a very speedy, I don't want to call him a scat back. He is going to have every opportunity to become our number one guy, but I don't know if he's going to have that longevity and upside as a 3-down back for us. And then Royce Freeman, I'm not a very big fan of his, but he's going to get his opportunities, and we also still have Devontae Booker. So the offense is going to be, I think a question mark for us, but it definitely has upside. And then we have very high expectations for this Denver defense. This entire offseason, this team has really committed to getting this team back to that elite defensive form, and we should have all of the pieces to get that done. Maybe some holes in the middle of the defense, the linebackers, the safeties, going to be a question mark, but this pass defense with the edge rush and with these corners should be in pretty good shape. So taking a look at our scheme fits here, we are going with the vertical zone run, the Kyle Shanahan scheme being implemented here with Rick Scangarillo coming over from the 49ers, the former quarterbacks coach under Kyle Shanahan. So that is going to be the scheme, and I actually think Drew Lock is a great fit there to run that. And then this defense is going to be that Vic Fangio scheme. This defense has been the 3-4 look ever since they've had Von Miller, really. So not a whole lot changing scheme-wise, but you do get an improved kind of coach here to maybe get the most out of Von Miller. So let's venture into the preseason here. We've actually got a couple upgrades off the bat. I've already taken care of training to save some time. I'll show you guys who we're really focusing on next week when we get to that. We've got Sua Cravens here. We're going to go hybrid here. Hope he can kind of improve that coverage a little bit. We know he is more of a thumping, strong safety, and that's a good upgrade. 3-man, 1 zone. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Safety is a weakness for us. He could also play some linebacker for us, certainly, which is a weakness for us as well. So he could certainly play a role for us. He's going to have to fight for it. And then kind of nothing here with Kevin Hogan, but might as well just plug in a little West Coast upgrade here. So before we advance, we can think about if we want to make any more moves for this team. Now, center is a huge need for us, so we're going to take a look at the offensive linemen available. Middle linebacker is a huge need for us. And then if there's any players that we would consider trading here, one guy that I kind of have in mind is one of these tight ends, because we drafted Noah Fant. And I actually mentioned this when I did my draft grades. I like that pick, but the Broncos actually have a really deep young tight end room. So I'm interested in moving one of these guys, probably the worst run blocker of the three. So let's see who's going to end up being the worst run blocker, because I do like to get those guys in on formation. So we're going to definitely want to keep Jeff Howerman. Looks like Troy Fumagalli might be the one we want to move. And then, of course, in this kind of imaginary world, these are the 2020 rosters in 2019. So we're going to have the same schedule that this team had last year, and Troy Fumagalli, along with every rookie from the 2018 draft, is still going to be competing as rookies this season. So it's a bit of a fantasy world, but it's as realistic as we can make it. So let's see what we can fetch for Troy Fumagalli. I don't know if we're going to get a starting center for him, but maybe, a 5th round pick for him to a tight end needy team. The Cowboys could certainly use a new tight end there. The Jaguars, they showed interest in Josh Oliver, who I do not think is very good, but they are certainly interested in Fumagalli. The Patriots, you know what, that just makes too much sense. They don't have the Gronk heir apparent in there. And they actually have some guard depth here. Ted Karras, I can't remember if he's ever played center, but that seems like a type of player that you could certainly play at center. He's not very agile, but a good pass blocker up the middle. He's not too tall, 6'4", 305. I wonder if they would consider this player for player trade here. And they do. That might be the most realistic trade we've pulled off without having to, bend the rules. I think that's an excellent move for us. He can plug right in there at center and fill the void left by Paradise. And I'm also excited to see what the Patriots can do with Fumagalli, who was not going to get much playing time for us. So I like that move off the bat. Let's see if there's any free agents we might consider now. Certainly don't need a quarterback. The running back room is in pretty good shape. I think we're probably pretty content here. Wide receiver, we could probably use another piece in here. Emmanuel Sanders has not been a model of health as of late. I would love to get a veteran guy, and I'm actually kind of thinking about Brandon Marshall. Bring him back to Denver, or we could reunite Michael Crabtree with Joe Flacco. Not that they had a great relationship, but I think that's going to be the move here. Just get another body in there. AJ Derby, we're going to sign him. I think he used to play here in Denver. Add more depth there after we got rid of Fumagalli. This team lost Billy Turner. He was a kind of versatile guard for them who also played some tackle, so I would love to find a player that has some experience playing both positions that we could realistically, kind of plug in either at guard or tackle. The guy that caught my attention here is Mike Remmers. Really struggled with the Vikings, but we're not asking him to start here, so cheaper option there to fill out the depth. Now up front, we have a pretty interesting defensive line here. This D-line was a little underrated last year, had some guys that really stepped up against the run, and we drafted Draymond Jones here, who was one of my favorite steals in the class, a really quick-footed interior defensive lineman. Not really a lot of power on the inside, but he's a guy that we're going to develop here. I don't know if we necessarily want him to start right away. We've got Adam Gotsis, DeMarcus Walker, more of a rotational, third down pass rusher. And then, these are kind of the run stuffers here. I actually like the idea of bringing in one more kind of stud up here in Muhammad Wilkerson. And Ndamukong Suh also available, but we're going to go the cheaper route here with Wilkerson. I just would like one more big-bodied, true, interior defensive lineman that can get after the quarterback. I do like our depth on the edge, so I don't think I'm going to sign anyone there. And then middle linebacker, like we said, a big need. So Jamie Collins is available. I don't know if I necessarily like him as a 3-4 middle linebacker. His coverage ability has really kind of disappointed in the last few years. I got to add Josh Perry to the retired list there. Some of these guys come out of retirement and make their way back into the game. Shane Ray has not been signed, so we're going to go ahead and bring him back for just a cheap one-year deal. So Manti Te'o is available as the best middle linebacker. He's not going to be great in coverage. We already have Josie Jewell out of Iowa to be that kind of run-stopping interior defense, middle linebacker rather. It's not easy to find good cover linebackers at this point in the season, so we might just have to roll with what we have. I do like John Bostic. He did some nice things for the Steelers last year, but he's really never been very consistent. Navarro Bowman tempting as well. Actually, you know what? We're going to bring in Navarro Bowman, who has ties to Vic Fangio from the 49ers days. We're going to see if we can get that back from Navarro Bowman. I actually like that quite a bit. And then I'm also going to sign Stephone Anthony here. I don't know if he's going to make the team, but middle linebacker has become a quick need here for this team. We're pretty good at corner. I like our depth here, so we're going to ignore this for now, I think. And then at free safety, we definitely need help at safety. Justin Simmons, not bad. We've also got number 34 out there, Will Parks, as our starters. I don't know if we're finding better replacements, although Eric Berry is actually a pretty good fit here for the Broncos. Interdivision, get him from the Chiefs there, someone we're familiar with. Obviously, Berry not what he once was, and we're going to have to lower that development trait right there. He's no longer a superstar. I'm going to have to add that to my list. But I actually really like that a lot as a good fit. And then we also need a punter upgrade. So we're going to sign Brian Anger to boot these balls away here in the thin, mile-high air. So for a team that's ready to win right now, I think that's smart there, to go and get the values that you can to fill out your roster. Some teams, I think, are a little shy of free agency on these one-year deals when they can be really essential signings. So, I think everyone we just signed is going to compete for playing time. I think quick development is fair there for Eric Berry, coming off some pretty serious injuries. So he's going to compete with Simmons and Will Parks. None of them are really true free safeties at this point. Berry, if anyone, would be the kind of center fielding type. But we don't really know what we have in Eric Berry at this point. So really happy with the state of this roster as we move forward. Hopefully we can stay healthy here as we move on to week 2. So I mentioned that I was going to show you what we're working on here with the developments. On offense, we're going offensive line and quarterback. And then on defense, defensive back and linebacker. And then our focus players, we got Drew Lock, Courtland Sutton, trying to develop that chemistry there. And then we thought about Noah Fant, but we're actually going to go with Bradley Chubb because Von Miller not getting much younger, and we would love for Bradley Chubb to kind of, at some point, cement himself as that elite number 1 pass rusher. Right now, he's a very, very good number 2, but he's got the upside to be a number 1 guy for us, so that's what we're trying to get him to. And we do pick up some upgrades after that, which is nice. 1 for our new center. How about that? So I think we do want to go, try to get him to be a little more flexible here with this zone scheme. The problem with a guy like Ted Karras is he's not very bendy and fast for a center. He's more of a, kind of a plodding stonewall kind of guy, but a very good upgrade there. So that trade paying off with the fact that he got that upgrade right away. So we'll move on ahead. I do think it's important that we look at the box scores of these games because we've got a quarterback battle going on between Locke and Flacco. So, Flacco kind of doing his thing, completes 71% of his passes, 5 for 7. That's pretty typical, right, of that first week of the preseason. Come in for a drive, get some easy completions against vanilla defenses. But Drew Lock, not a bad game there, 17 for 30, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So, don't like to see the interceptions, but good first week, I would say, for Drew Lock. Let's go ahead to the big 3rd week of the preseason. Let's take a look here, what happened. So Drew Lock doesn't play as much here. Flacco, again, just kind of, taking what was given, 13 for 18. Doesn't really do a whole lot there. And then Drew Lock ends up pretty disappointing outing there. Not doing much with 2.1 yards per attempt, 26% completion. That is not what you want to see. That's not a guy that looks like a week 1 starter. Let's just take a peek at the defensive stats here for us. So Derek Wolfe, Bradley Chubb, just seeing if anyone's kind of standing out. No one that we wouldn't expect. So on to week 4 where we're going to have our cuts. See if Drew Lock does anything this week to, make us think about benching Joe Flacco. I don't think that's the plan. I think we're going to kind of do what the Ravens did under Joe Flacco with Lamar Jackson and start Joe Flacco and kind of wait on the right opportunity for the kid to play. And again, Locke struggles. Flacco actually plays pretty well, so that's going to seal that competition right there. On the defensive side of the ball, Eric Berry, a good game. Good to see that. Callahan has kind of popped on the box score, so definitely making sure he's going to be our starting slot corner. So let's go ahead and make our cuts. Now, this is a realistic rebuild. We've never really kept long snappers in the past, but I think we should, considering it is a realistic rebuild. So we're going to dump Kevin Hogan. No need for him. The running backs were good there. Fullback, we got a good one. So this Juwan Winfrey was a 6th round pick for us. It's not the end of the world to cut 6th round picks, but you'd prefer to keep them because they've got that guaranteed money on their contract. Tim Patrick, a player that did kind of show some things in the last season, so we'll keep him. Those are going to be kind of the main, what is that, 6 right there? 5? So those are going to be the main 5, and then we want to keep a 6th. I would say we should keep the 6th round pick. So we'll keep the long snapper, get rid of Hemingway. Derby, is he cutting it here? I don't think we really need him. If we have an injury, we can pick another one up. We don't need Jake Rogers. We'll keep both of these guys. I think we can get rid of both of these veteran centers. We'll hang on to Sam Jones. He's a young player. We do have Connor McGovern, and he actually could play some center as well, but he's a pretty poor pass blocker. We might have to come back and cut one of those guys. And Barclay, actually kind of a versatile guy, but we upgraded that with Remmers, so we'll cut him. This D line, very deep. I don't think we want to make any cuts there. And then on the edge, do we keep the young player? Do we bring Shane Ray back? Let's keep Jeff Holland around. Sorry, Shane Ray. The linebackers here. I want to have Navarro Bowman make this team and see if he can do anything with that. We're going to get rid of Keyshawn Vieira. We'll practice squad him. I did not really like him coming out of Washington. Then we got a couple guys here on the edge to get rid of. Pretty easy cuts there. We got to make STEPHONE Anthony a middle linebacker in this scheme. We'll maybe come back to him there. So we got 4 more cuts to make. Gonna need all these corners. We only have 5 there. We could probably get rid of one of these safeties, if not more. Trey Marshall, I think he was a rookie last year. He's not really meeting our standards for, the zone coverage for more of a center fielding type. Jamal Carter, really the same can be said about him. And then we do have 2 punters here. Luckily, we can get rid of one of them. So 1 more cut to make. I think STEPHONE Anthony is going to be the easy decision there for us. And that is the team. So let's go ahead to week 1, where we will do our depth chart and then wrap up this episode. It's going to be a fun season. We've got expectations here, especially with, the Raiders not exactly being the best team in the league. The Chiefs without Tyreek Hill. We've got playoff aspirations here, so that's going to be our goal. The Chargers, I think, are going to be the favorite to win this division. Let's take care of this training. Of course, the Chiefs will be right behind them. They've got Patrick Mahomes, so you can't count them out. But defensively, they've got some issues, and offensively, frankly, they're missing some pieces there without Tyreek Hill. And then I'm excited to see how this new-look Raiders team does as well. So let's get this depth chart taken care of. I'm also going to set some formation subs away from the camera here. So that looks about right at running back. We got Janovich there. Wide receiver, I think I'm actually going to make Sutton the number 1, keep Sanders as number 2. We want Hamilton in the slot, Crabtree, Patrick, Winfrey. I think we want Howerman as our number 2 tight end because he's a better blocker. The offensive line is set up. So then up front, I think we want to start Derek Wolfe, Muhammad Wilkerson. We'll make sure Adam Gotsis gets in there as well. Really deep group of defensive linemen, which I like. So do we really want to start Todd Davis, Josie Jewell, or Navarro Bowman? Not exactly the best pickings there. I think I'm going to go with... I feel like you got to start Josie Jewell. I'm just not a big Todd Davis fan. Maybe we just kind of rotate them, honestly. I think what I'm going to do is go Bowman and Jewell, and then we'll bring Todd Davis in there. He's a little more athletic, better in coverage. We'll bring him in there for, 3rd down sets. And, we'll see if anyone kind of stands out to us, but I don't think you're got a huge difference between any of those guys, really. We got Justin Hollins and Jeff Holland as our 3rd and 4th edge guys. We also have DeMarcus Walker as kind of a flex piece there that we definitely want to use in certain sets. But we'll have to keep the JH initial guys straight. And this is kind of an interesting dilemma here because Kareem Jackson and Bryce Callahan were both nickel defenders for their teams last year. And, you know, I actually have kind of compared Bryce Callahan, at least his scenario, to like a Casey Hayward, who, you know, he was really used in the nickel, but he has the coverage ability to play outside. And I actually really prefer Kareem Jackson's kind of flexibility in the nickel, where he just killed it for the Texans last year. He's one of the best kind of safety nickel corner hybrids. I actually want to see what Bryce Callahan can do as the outside guy. He's got the long speed to run with some of these outside receivers. Now, he has the short area speed as well to play in the nickel. That's why I like him as a versatile piece. But Jackson, I'm going to start the season with that being the setup. We do have some flexibility there, and Chris Harris as well. It's kind of an awkward setup, right? Because all of these guys are probably best in the nickel. So, you know, we probably long-term want to find a more traditional outside corner or two, but we're going to make the best of what we have there. So at free safety, I think we got to go Will Parks. He's got the best coverage ability. You know, Kareem Jackson, like I said, can play some safety as well. It's going to be an unpopular opinion here, but I'm actually going to start Eric Berry as the strong safety over Justin Simmons. Now, Simmons will play a little bit, but his coverage ability last year was a problem for this team, and I don't think he should be a part of the future here, honestly, for the Broncos, unless he really stepped it up this year. But I'm definitely prepared to replace Justin Simmons, and as early as this year now, with Eric Berry. So we're going to have Philip Lindsay returning kicks. We'll put Booker in there as well. I want Lindsay doing the punts as well. He's just, you know, has that explosiveness, that big play potential. Can give this team a spark if our offense starts to struggle. Might as well put our actual long snapper as the long snapper. Third down running back, we're good there. I think I'm actually going to make Janovich our second third down running back. Slot wide receiver, we actually want Deshaun Hamilton there in the slot. You know, we mentioned also DeMarcus Walker being kind of that flexible piece. Well, that can also be Draymond Jones. We're developing him as an interior defensive lineman, just like DeMarcus Walker. But these guys do have some flexibility as rush ends. But I think I actually want to get Jeff Holland in there ahead of Draymond Jones. And then I do like the idea of DeMarcus Walker as a rotational rush end, because he can play some outside linebacker as well. And then for the rush interior guys, we will go with, I think, Gotsis and Wolf. Muhammad Wilkerson and Wolf, and then Gotsis will be the third guy there. And then here's our sub linebacker looks, where we are going to go with, I think, Josie Jewell and Navarro Bowman. And I think I'm actually going to put Sua Cravens there as the next man up in that role. Slot corner, we want Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callahan, and then Chris Harris. Chris Harris, for the first time, really is going to be an outside corner here for us. So we'll see how he does in that role full-time. They use him in a bunch of different looks in real life. So that's it. This episode got a little bit longer, I think. I'm going to try and keep everyone around 30 minutes. But again, please hit that like button for this video and all of them to come. When we come back, we are going to kick off against the Seattle Seahawks, a rematch of that Super Bowl from several years ago, as we try to get this team back to that form. So a fitting kickoff to the season here. Peace out, guys. We'll see you for the next one.